Charlotte of Belgium, known by the Spanish version of her name, Carlota, was by birth a princess of Belgium and member of the House of Wettin in the branch of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. As the wife of Archduke Maximilian of Austria, Viceroy of Lombardy-Venetia and later Emperor of Mexico, she became Archduchess of Austria in 1857 and Empress of Mexico in 1864. She was daughter, granddaughter, sister, sister-in-law, cousin, and wife of reigning or deposed sovereigns throughout Europe and Mexico. From the beginning of her marriage, she feuded with Empress Elizabeth in Vienna, and was glad when her husband was posted to Italy as Viceroy of Lombardy-Venetia. At this time, he was selected by the Emperor Napoleon III as a figurehead for his proposed French Empire in Mexico, and Charlotte overcame her husband's doubts about the plan. Maximilian and Charlotte duly arrived to Mexico City in 1864, but their reign lasted a little over 3 years. She assisted her husband, who let her rule as regent during his absences from Mexico, for which reason she is considered the first woman to rule in the Americas. When Napoleon III ordered the withdrawal of French military aid intended to support Maximilian, the situation of the Mexican imperial couple became untenable. On her own initiative, Charlotte decided to go personally to Europe in order to attempt a final approach to Paris and the Vatican. She landed in France in August 1866, but suffered the successive refusals of both Napoleon III and Pope. On her own initiative, Charlotte decided to go personally to Europe in order to attempt a final approach to Paris and the Vatican. She landed in France in August 1866, but suffered the successive refusals of both Napoleon III and Pope Pius IX. In Rome, the failure of her mission appeared to compromise her mental health to the point that an alienist doctor advocated the confinement of Charlotte in Muromari Castle. It was during her stay under house arrest that Maximilian was deposed and executed by Benito Juarez in June 1867. Unaware that she was now a widow, Charlotte was brought back to Belgium and confined successively in the Pavillon de Tervuren in 1867 and again during 1869 to 1879, the Palace of Laeken during 1867 to 1869, and finally at Bouchout Castle in Nice from 1879, where she remained for the next 48 years in a deleterious mental state, giving rise to much speculation ever since, before dying in 1927 aged 86. Marie Charlotte Amélie Augustine Victoire Clementine Leopoldine of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, better known under the name Charlotte, was the daughter of King Leopold I of Belgium and Louise of Orleans. Her first name pays homage to the late Princess Charlotte of Wales, her father's first wife. She was the fourth and last child and the only daughter of the Belgian royal couple, after Louis-Philippe, who died less than 1 year old in 1834, Leopold born in 1835, and Philippe born in 1837. Queen Louise's last pregnancy was so difficult there were fears of a miscarriage in April, but on the 7th of June 1840 at 1 a.m., Charlotte was born healthy at the Palace of Laeken. Initially disappointed by the birth of a daughter, who was not a dynast in Belgium at that time, King Leopold I was gradually charmed by his daughter, who became in time his favorite child. Through her mother, Charlotte was a granddaughter of Louis-Philippe I and Maria Amelia of the Two Sicilies, King and Queen of the French, and through her father, she was a first cousin of Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Thanks to these relations, and in addition to regular stays in the city of Ostend in the summer, Charlotte spent long holidays with her maternal grandparents in the French royal residences and at her cousins in Windsor Castle. She was close to her maternal grandmother, Queen Maria Amelia, and the two regularly corresponded. After the French Revolution of 1848, which dethroned her grandparents and exiled them to England, for a few weeks out of the year, Charlotte stayed in Claremont with her mother's family in exile. When her mother died on the 11th of October 1850, Charlotte was only 10 years old. The boisterous and expansive little girl quickly became a pensive and introverted teenager. The late Queen Louise had personally overseen the education and instruction of the royal children, respecting the wishes of his deceased wife. The king appointed Countess Denise Hulst, a French aristocrat, to take particular care of Charlotte, of whom she became governess. Fleeing Laeken as soon as he could, Leopold I had little presence with his children, who suffered as a result. Very early on, Charlotte was able to express herself orally and in writing in French, English, and German. Her religious instruction was entrusted to Victor Auguste Isidore Deschamps, later Cardinal and Archbishop of Mechelen, and therefore Primate of Belgium. Religion held a major place in the life of the princess. Leopold I demanded that his children carry out frequent examinations of conscience, believing that crowned heads must possess great strength of character. After Madame d'Holst returned to France, it was Countess Marie-Auguste Bovy, her new governess, who educated Charlotte, urging her to read and meditate daily on the imitation of Christ. At the age of 13, her favorite author was Plutarch, while she judged Ovid to be childish. Very early on, she was convinced that royalty would have to be more accountable to God than the rest of humanity. Her obsession with learning made society bland. She wrote at 15. At this age, Charlotte was seen as a distant beauty, aware of her dignity, and seeking to achieve unattainable moral perfection. She had a tendency to judge those around her harshly and got along more with her brother Philippe than with Leopold. In her youth, Charlotte resembled her mother, and was noted as being a beauty possessing delicate features. This, combined with her status as the only daughter of the King of the Belgians, made her a desirable match. In 1856, as she was preparing to celebrate her 16th birthday, two suitors sought her hand, Prince George of Saxony, who was quickly rejected, and King Pedro V of Portugal. The latter was the favorite candidate of both Queen Victoria and King Leopold I, by personal choice, and under the influence of Madame d'Holst, who affirmed that at the Portuguese court no priest would understand her. Charlotte declined the offer of marriage with King Pedro V. She explained, "As for Pedro, it is a throne. It is true, I would be queen and majesty, but what is that? The crowns nowadays are heavy burdens, and how one regrets later to have yielded to such crazy considerations." In the month of May 1856, Charlotte met in Brussels with Archduke Maximilian of Austria, younger brother of Emperor Franz I Joseph. She was immediately charmed by this prince, who was 8 years her senior. Reportedly, she stated, "It will be him that I will marry." Her father left Charlotte the choice of her future husband. As she testified in a letter addressed to her grandmother Maria Amelia, "He wrote me the most impartial letter, putting before my eyes the advantages of one and the other without wanting to influence me in any way." As for First Leopold, he wrote to his future son-in-law, "You won in May all my confidence and my benevolence. I also noticed that my little girl shared these dispositions. However, it was my duty to proceed with precaution." Charlotte declared, "If, as it is in question, the Archduke was invested with the Viceroyalty of Italy, that would be charming. That's all I want." The official engagement was celebrated on the 23rd of December 1856. Charlotte appeared elated by the prospect of her marriage to Maximilian, praising a fiancé for whom she envisioned an exceptional destiny. Maximilian appeared less enthusiastic when negotiating the dowry of his bride. The Archduke said of his fiancée, "She's short, I'm tall, which must be. She's brunette, I'm blonde, which is good too. She is very intelligent, which is a bit annoying, but I will undoubtedly get over it." The marriage ceremony was celebrated on the 27th of July 1857 at the Royal Palace of Brussels. This alliance with the House of Hapsburg-Lorraine enhanced the legitimacy of the recently established Belgian dynasty. Emperor III Napoleon presented the couple with a bisque bust of Charlotte as a wedding gift. In the court of Vienna, she was welcomed by her mother-in-law, Archduchess Sophie, who saw in her the perfect example of a wife for an Austrian Archduke. This contributed to the strained relationship between Charlotte and Empress Elizabeth of Austria, wife of Franz I Joseph, whom Sophie treated rather cruelly. It is said that Charlotte disliked the deep connection that existed between Elizabeth and Maximilian, who were confidants and shared the same tastes for many things, especially because her sister-in-law was universally admired for her beauty and charm. Thanks for watching. The continuation of the video will be released on Monday of next week. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Bye.